Jesus said to his disciples, "As the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Abide in my love. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. I have said these things to you so that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be complete. This is my commandment, that you love one another, as I have loved you. No one has greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command you. I do not call you servants any longer, because the servant does not know what the master is doing. But I have called you friends, because I have made known to you everything that I have heard from my Father. You did not choose me, but I chose you. And I appointed you to go and bear fruit that will last, so that the Father will give you whatever you ask him in my name. I am giving you these commandments so that you may love one another." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise be to you, Lord Christ.
Well, it's springtime on Ambrosio, the time of year when everyone goes out to their shed and finds out their lawnmower is dead. Why? Because the gas was sitting in the tank all winter long. And now you've gone from having a functional machine to having a machine that is shot through with bad gas. We all know how bad it can be when you've got a situation of bad gas. It has got to be remedied. And that's the situation. That's the situation, in some sense, I want you to consider that God is talking to us about today in our own hearts. Because we can have bad gas in our hearts, which is to say that we don't function in our lives well, that our lives don't work quite right, that we're trying to run, we're trying to function, we're trying to live, we're trying to do what we're called to do, but our engine just isn't up to the task. The problem's not the engine. The problem is the gas. Because we're made to run on one thing, and that one thing is love. And when we substitute something else, or when our love starts to become distant, or it starts to lose some of its potency, the whole engine is thrown off. And if you mow lawns, you know all the ways an engine can go off. Sometimes it's vroom, 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 and you keep hoping it's just going to stay at the high level, but it's not going to quite work. Sometimes you're pulling and you're pulling and you're pulling, and the thing just won't start. If you've ever had this experience in your life where you feel like ups and downs, or you just can't get going, the chance is pretty good that we're running not on what we're designed for, but that somehow we're running on gas that has gone bad. In the Middle Ages, in the early Middle Ages, in fact, even in the late early church, like the 400s, 500s, already there was a concept of all the different kinds of things we might substitute for the right, correct gas that we're meant to run on. I think the idea might have originally come from Mary Magdalene, actually. In John's Gospel, it says that Mary Magdalene was the person from whom seven evil spirits, or 7 corrupting spirits, had been cast out. And from that moment, everybody wanted to know, well, we're the 7 spirits. And somewhere in the, say, like 300s or 400s, somebody came up with a list that got kind of perfected in the 500s, and they called it the 7 deadly sins. You've heard of that before. You remember that movie 7? Don't go home and watch it. It's not as good as you remember. The 7 deadly sins. The 7 deadly sins are actually super valuable to us, because what they're telling us, and it's been 1,500 years of church history now, that these are 7 ways that we tend to go wrong. 7 things we substitute for love, that we put into our engines that can drive the motivations of our lives, and every single one of them will corrupt the engine and perhaps destroy the whole machine. Now listen, if you notice yourself in some of these, that doesn't mean you're going to hell, that means you're human. But you do have a chance to run the engine better, and that's what we're listening for. What are the 7 deadly sins? Well, how are we going to remember them? I'll tell you how I remembered them, and you can use this or not. You've got the mind, the heart, and the strength. And then there's 2 that involve other people, and 2 that involve your whole body. So you've got a 3, a 2, and a 2. I bet you can remember that. So we've got pride. Yeah, you laugh, right? Well, it's just easy. 7 things. So just remember. See what you can do. We've got pride in the mind. I'll talk about that more in a second. We've got greed, which I think of as sort of a heart thing. Like wanting at my heart, I want more, I want more. There's the body, which would be wrath. So pride, greed, wrath. The 2 that involve others are envy and lust. Okay? E-L, envy. Envying others, lusting after others. Then there's 2 that involve the body. And one is gluttony, and one is sloth. These 7 things are the kinds of gas we can find ourselves accidentally running on instead. And maybe it's mixed, or maybe you're running on it too strong, even all by itself. Pride, of course, is a sense that you're better than everybody else. Sometimes we sort of developed this over the years, right? If somebody was always telling you were bad, or you always felt like you were failing, maybe you had to create a sense of pride, just to sort of reflect back and have some sort of aura of protection. But one way or another, pride is thinking you're better than everybody else. You're more special than everyone else. You're more valuable than everyone else. There's a haughtiness to it. There's a sense that others are kind of beneath you, and you're a bit of a sort of a royalty, walking among peasants. This is pride on some level or another. Nobody is up to where I am. Nobody is really at the level that I'm at in this place. Greed, of course, is a sense of wanting more and more. It's a sense of not ever being able to be filled. You want to have more wealth. You are willing to exploit others to have it. You never have enough. There's never a sense of contentment. Wrath is not anger, okay? It's okay to be angry. Angry is something that should have happened, didn't happen, and it mattered. It's okay when it matters. Anger is best when it doesn't come through angry words or tearing other people down. You can be angry in a holy way. You can talk like this when you're angry and clarify that this is unacceptable. Wrath is when it comes to sort of the body, when we're just so filled, we can run on anger. We can run on this sense of violence, of just wanting to absolutely overwhelm other people and make them so small. And sometimes it involves physical violence. Envy is when you see other people, of course, we know the word envy, right? We see other people doing well and we wish it was us. And a part of envy also, sort of a secret part of envy, is wishing they would fail. And maybe rejoicing when they do. Lust is also obvious. Perhaps it goes without saying. It's what you think it is. The idea of seeing someone else and just sort of absolutely objectifying them. They are turning them into an object, right? A pencil has no self-determination, has no person of itself. A pencil is to be used, and this other person is a thing to be used. That's what lust is at its heart. Then there's gluttony, which really has to do with your body. Just eating too much. And, it's weird in some ways because it's so specific. But it really has a lot to do with food, and it's just having no limits and just sort of just having no breaks, just needing to fill yourself more and more. And then finally there's sloth, which, isn't it nice? I picture the animal, the sloth, right? With all those long claws just hanging on the tree. I like that we call it sloth. It feels lovely in the Middle Ages kind of way. Sloth is you just can't be bothered, right? I just can't make myself care enough about anything to do much of anything. It may end up having you sit on the couch, but it could be there's something important in my job, but I just can't make myself do it. I just don't care enough anymore to make a difference. All of these things are things that we can substitute in our heart and can become the driving force in our lives. Greed becomes the driving force in our lives. I've got to make sure I have more. A sense of wrath, of just overpowering everyone else, or a sense of pride that I'm above everybody else, and this is what my life is about. This is the life I designed so that I'm above everyone. But here's the thing. Each of these things, they're called 7 deadly sins because they're not just sort of a thing you can do that's wrong. It's because they're pernicious. It's because they have the power to corrode and destroy the heart, to corrode and destroy lives. It's not like, well, you can be greedy and you're just gonna have a incorrect estimation of people in the world. It's that when you're greedy, you start to not care. That when you're greedy, you start to not love. That the more you love, you operate on that, the more everything else in your life becomes broken, and the more lost you become. That's why they're deadly, is these are ways to go off the path, and if you stay on it too long, sometimes it can be hard to find the road again. The danger here is not simply hell. The danger is losing yourself, losing self-respect, looking back on your life and thinking, my God, look at all the trauma that I caused. Look at all the opportunities that I missed. Love is not just another thing. Love is actually, we're built to operate on love because love manifests in many things. Love, just like gasoline, right? It can power a car, it can power a boat, it can power a chainsaw. Love has the power to manifest in all the different ways of our lives. And in fact, each of these 7 deadly sins is mitigated by love, but not by love itself, by what it brings. So pride, when you're feeling prideful, love can bring humility. And humility is what is the remedy for pride. Humility is looking at others and seeing a kind of a sense of equality. You don't have to be lower than them. It's just to realize, here we all are together. Humility has a sense of value of other people's importance. You see, it turns the pride on its head, where you see others and you're able to celebrate their successes. You did so great. You're amazing at that. Love allows you to be able to say that. Pride could never let somebody be so high. But when love manifests in humility, it allows you to say those things and to connect with those people on that heart level for that reason. Greed, love brings a sense of charity. Charity is a sense of contentment, and charity is also a sense of seeing other people's needs. If greed is anything, it's seeing your own need to the absence of everyone else's. Right? I'm gonna need more. I still need more. It's the need, but it's just in the self. Charity allows you to open your eyes and see the needs all around you. And it also opens you up in love to be able to do something appropriate about it. Something at an appropriate level, something that shows your concern, that tries to make a difference. So you see, it's not just love, it's the charity that love inspires. In the same way, wrath is solved through love in patience. In patience. Isn't that lovely? Imagine yourself being filled with wrath, and now imagine for a moment just like the cool water of patience pouring over you. Gives you a sense to take a deep breath, to give the person just a little bit more space, to try to understand. Patience opens up space for forgiveness, where wrath simply wants to exact judgment and a penalty. So love brings patience. And already we can see that these things really are truly good. It's what we're made for, and you know that's true because of the effect it has on you and the effect it has on linking you to the world around you. Envy, love brings a sense of, I thought this one was interesting, kindness. Kindness is the opposite of envy. Whereas you envy them and you want to see them fail, kindness allows you to see their successes and to celebrate them. To say, you're doing a wonderful job. That's amazing. Kindness allows you not to want them to fail, but to see what you can do to be a part of the extraordinary things that they're doing. Lust, love brings chastity, which is again one of those sort of Middle Ages words, right? Chastity is not simply sort of refraining from sexual morality. What chastity has in its fullness is the opposite of what lust was doing. Lust was turning the other into an object for your own pleasure or use. And so what chastity is doing is, in love, allowing you to see them as a human being, right? This is a human being. This is a mother, a father. This is a daughter. This is a son. This is a person with needs and concerns. This is a person to be known, to be cared for, to be respected. Going back to pride, this is a person that I'm not better than, a person who's equal to me in all the things that make us human. Chastity allows us to turn lust inside out for a moment and to see what truly is. In the sense of gluttony, love brings temperance. Temperance. Is that right? Yes, it is. That's right. I did think this was enough things. I better bring a cheat sheet. Gluttony brings temperance, which is everything in its own balance. Part of it is respecting your own body. Right? Gluttony is, I'm going to just run this thing and I'm going to eat as much as I can or have as or drink or whatever it is. Temperance allows you to sort of see your body and to love yourself. You have to step out of yourself for a second, look at the body and sort of love and care for it. What does this body want? What does this body need? Where are its limits? And I'm not going to push it past its limits. I'm going to allow it to have things in balance. Good food, sure, but not too much or too often. Maybe alcohol if I don't have a problem with that, but in ways that are sort of balanced and good for me, but not too far. And you can see how that comes out of love. In this sense, it's an inner love for your body, for yourself. And finally, sloth is turned into diligence. And doesn't that just sound great? If you've ever had sort of teenagers that just want to sit on the couch, or whatever, parents or siblings or friends or whatever it is, right? Or self, looking in the mirror, sloth, the sense of diligence. You can just see how diligence is the solution to that. The sense of there's things that need to be done and I can do them and I'm going to do them. I don't have to do everything and I don't have to go beyond my capacity, but I can do something and I'll be diligent in that. I'm going to stand up, I'm going to get up, and I'm going to make a difference. Today in the gospel, we are told over and over, and in fact, in this part of John's gospel, Jesus can't stop talking about love. And he's not just talking about swooning or lovebirds on a tree. We're not talking about marriage or relationships. He's talking about a way of being that makes us our best. As human beings, we were designed to run on one thing, which manifests in every good thing. And that one good thing is love. It comes straight from the Father, and when our engine is running on it, everything in our world is good. Amen.